The agenda is going to be taking a look at some of the tools that your iPhone comes with, the settings that can help. We're going to take a look at some helpful app features in both Safari and with an app called the Magnifier. The tools in your iPhone allow you to adjust the text size across pretty much all the applications. So there's a global setting in settings, and if most applications will respond to text size settings you change, like email and others. There are settings in accessibility that let you go even larger in text, and I'll show you how to get to those if you're not sure how to do them. You can make your text bold, which will help you in terms of contrast and visibility. You can do something called reduce white point, and I've tried doing it on my screen share. Unfortunately, it doesn't show, but what it does is moderates the white point, makes it a little yellower, or a little not so much yellow, but kind of reduces the brightness and the contrast, because sometimes too harsh a contrast can be difficult to read. But I'll show you where the setting is. I'll show you dark mode. Some people prefer dark mode because it's easier on their eyes to read. And these are just for whatever is easier to read and easier to look, to make it easier for you to use your iPhone, regardless of what it says it can do. It's more a matter of your comfort, your accessibility, your tools that you want to be able to use. Auto brightness is usually automatically set, but I'll show you where the setting is just so you know as well. Okay, some app features. We're going to look at Safari, and Safari Reader is one of my favorite tools in Safari for iPhone. It also works in iPad on Safari. It also works on your Mac and Safari, but there are some settings on your phone that give you some really interesting capabilities that are really helpful. And then the Magnifier app that comes standard with iPhone. A lot of people forget it's there. Some people probably use it already if you're working on your vision and you want something that'll help you with your vision. That's probably a good tool. So let's take a look. So now I'm mirroring my phone, and you are seeing what I see on my phone. I'm going to go to my settings app first. I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to go to the settings gear that's going to give me the ability to highlight something. I'm going to turn on the annotate function just so I can give you a little spotlight here on what might be helpful. There's the settings gear. We're going to go there. And in settings, there are a lot of settings. Settings at the top, if you swipe up and down, you'll see your Apple account ID. But we want to scroll down to where we see display and brightness. And this gives you some basic controls here for your display and brightness. Light and dark are easy, but let's go right to text size first. We'll take a look at some of these others. Text size gives you the ability to adjust your text size, and it's a slider right at the bottom here, and you can adjust your slider and it will show you the text size that will appear. It says apps that support dynamic type will adjust to your preferred reading size below. Apple asks app developers to use what they call dynamic type when they develop an app and they make it available for you to use on your phone. Because if the app uses dynamic type, then the control setting here allows you to adjust the size of the type in that app without having to do anything special in the app. So let's take a look at the size. I'm going to just move my finger down to the slider, and you can look at the type up above and see how it changes and gets smaller. There's a little haptic, little tap that's occurring with each dot as I move it back and forth. And as I move it a little bit larger, we may get something that pops up. It says larger sizes are available in accessibility settings. We're going to go to that in just a minute. So now let's go back to the appearance here. One of the things you can do in appearance is go from light mode to dark mode. It basically inverts everything. If we go to dark mode, you can see how the display changed. The text became white and the background became dark. Typically, there's a setting that's automatic that will set it up for nighttime viewing in the evening, but you can manually change it to decide if you prefer one or the other. It's up to you which one you decide to use. And so sometimes that helps as a setting as well. Another setting is called bold text. Bold text gives you the ability to turn on bold and things will get bold. They might still be gray here, and there are settings for adjusting contrast, but we want to, you can see how the information here is all bolded and it appears all the way through, and that'll change it for all of your apps. So it's a nice setting to be aware of. And so those are some few things that we can do. There's a display zoom that gives you the ability to automatically zoom in on everything. If you choose larger text, it will walk through and show you some animations here. You can see how the clock is different, how the notifications, how text size is different, and how not as many icons will fit on your desktop, but it just makes everything larger as opposed to using the default setting. So those are some options there. And those are some tools that give you the ability to modify it. Now, some people like the liquid glass, other people don't. And so you can change this to the clear view, which gives you a little preview here of how this transparency effect works, or you can go to tinted and you can see that it has made this background a lot darker in terms of its focus. So some people find this transparency effect is a little bit more difficult to view. If you prefer a tinted view, go to the tinted, and increases the opacity. And as it says here, it adds more contrast. So those are some really, really good tools to focus on in your display and brightness. And always on display means the display will be on. And night shift is set typically automatically, but you can change it. When it goes to night shift, it'll change to dark mode for you automatically. You can adjust the brightness if you want to and change the brightness. You're not going to see it on my Zoom screen, but you will see it on the display. And you can change it to True Tone or change True Tone off. True Tone tends to make it a little more natural, I found, when you're viewing it on your device. Typically, your device will have auto brightness set on, and so that's something you typically don't have to change, but that's another setting that you can modify if you're interested in. Let's take a look at accessibility. To find accessibility, we have to scroll to here. It's not under display and brightness, it's under accessibility. And on accessibility, there are things called display and text size that are a lot more advanced. You do have the ability to make your text bold here if you want to. If you choose to, you can reduce transparency. Sometimes that works really well in terms of reducing transparency. If you change the glass effect off, but reducing transparency will reduce it everywhere, not just on the glass effect. Here is where we can go to larger text. So let me get my button here. So we can go to larger text. It's off. Now turns on larger accessibility sizes. You can see that I'm maxed out here, but that's only because I have this off. If I turn this larger accessibility sizes on, you can see now that I had my text setting to about the middle of the full range. But if I take this slider and move it to the right, I have the ability to make text extremely large if I want to. Now, keep in mind that things are going to be a little more difficult to read in terms of formatting. Some things might get pushed to multiple lines. So I tend to like this off myself. I find I'm able to read okay, but you do have that available to you if and when you need it. I just want to make sure you're aware of that and aware of the transparency setting that increase, and you can choose to increase the contrast for anything you want. You can do things with color. You can invert things automatically. You can change color filters if you want to make it readable, so that if you prefer to have color filters that are going to be set up for grayscale, if I change it to grayscale or red-green filter, things on the screen. You can see how it grayscale. You won't see it on the setting, but it is changing it to grayscale on the screen of my iPhone. And so for people that have color blindness or difficulties with different colors, there are quite a variety of options that you can get to on that. Now, those are some common settings, but what about when you're using Safari to browse a website? Well, I'm going to open up Safari. I opened up my website, and I'm going to open up an article. The latest article is Understanding Passkeys. And what happens is that you'll see ads that displayed, but you'll also see something happening down here at the bottom. I'm going to click on this refresh wheel here, but at the bottom, I want you to watch what shows up here when I click refresh. It says reader available, and then it disappears right away. When you have, this is a little reader icon. So reader available means that that web page can be viewed with the reader function on Safari. I'm going to tap this button, which is going to open up the reader function. The default is hide distracting items, report a website issue, but I also have listen to page, translate, manage extensions, and other tools. But I have some text size options. I have the ability to just show the reader view. And what it's done is it's changed the view of the website and eliminated ads and distracting items automatically. So that is one tool that is available in Reader. Apple AI now has the ability to summarize a website. If you'd like a summary of it, you can get that right away. But some other things that are in reader mode are the text size. You can actually increase the text size in Safari so that you can make your text size larger if you want it by tapping on the little A and the big A down here. You can listen to the page. You can pause at any time. So if you're going for a walk and you see an article and you want to listen to a web page, just tap on listen to page. Reader mode will automatically give you the ability to listen to a page. You can also change the font that the page appears in and the background color of the page too. The standard default here is the way your phone is set up. But if we wanted to change it, a tap here, we could go to that. We can show reader mode, and we can see we've changed the color to a little more background of a tan page. We can go dark, and we can change it to a gray color, or we can go black and change it so it's inverted completely. You have that option in reader mode without doing anything else in settings. You also have the option to change the text. Let's take a look. This article is in Georgia, which is the default text for Apple. Let's change it to, say, San Francisco, and now we read it and we get a different font entirely than we had for the entire page itself. So you have the ability to modify and edit these pages. You have the ability to search in the page as well by tapping the search tool in the page reader. You also have the ability to access multiple functions if you want to. Those are Safari functions that work on any page. So I'm going to go back to Georgia and my mode here, and I'm going to just hide the reader. And now I'm back looking at the page as I normally would on a website wherever I go. Remember, when you go to a web page, this reader available mode may not appear right away, but when you tap the refresh button, you'll see reader available. And if you see this reader icon, you'll have the ability to do it with Safari Reader. One of the best tools I think Apple has integrated into their Safari application. Now, one other tool that I recommend for making things more readable is the Magnifier tool. If you aren't sure where Magnifier is, you can always go and swipe down from the top, from somewhere on your home screen, and you can type the word Magnifier, and that'll bring up some suggestions here. So I want the Magnifier app, so I'm going to click on and tap on the Magnifier app here. Now the magnifier turns on my camera. It's pointing at my keyboard. And it has the ability for me to use this slider here where I can zoom in on something and zoom out on something. I can change the brightness and adjust the brightness to make it easier to read if I want to. I could also tap on some other functions here for contrast. If I want to change the contrast, I can adjust the contrast. So I can make something easier to read. What I'm doing is I'm tapping on one of these buttons here, and then I have the ability, I can even give it a color cast if it's more difficult to read. I can give it a yellow on black view or a white on blue, depending on colors that might be easier to read. Sometimes documents and pieces of paper are printed in color and they can be difficult to read. So that's a really good, useful tool sometimes for adjusting the color of an item if you're having difficulty viewing it. You can also turn on the flashlight and add more light to whatever it is you're doing. One of the settings in Magnifier that my daughter-in-law showed me is something called detect. If you're having trouble seeing something or you want to try and identify something, detect is generally not visible on your control panel. But if you go to the setting on detect and turn show on control panel, now we will see a detection function on your control panel. That's this button right here. So I'm going to turn my phone over here and point it at an object here. And I'm going to tap on detect. And it's going to tell me, it actually narrates what it is it's detecting. Some things it can't do real well. So, but it can help you with text. Its function is actually somewhat limited in terms of what it will detect. In looking it up before class, it says that the magnifier tool, when you turn on detection, it will help you identify people. It may not tell you who they are, but it will tell you how far away they are. It'll tell you where doors are. It's designed to help people move around if they have vision difficulty. It'll identify furniture. So if you point your phone, it'll tell you, oh, there's a table there, there's a chair there, etc. It can sometimes, if given time, it can read text aloud. So at first it identifies the paper, but then it will, if you point it at text, it'll read the text aloud. And it can do some basic identification of objects. It got the Apple okay. I don't know how much more it would get, but it depends on some basic objects that you might want to focus on. So I just wanted to go over some of the basic tools that are available for you in using some of the Apple settings for making your phone easier to read. There's quite a lot of accessibility settings in virtually every device we use, not only in the iPhone, but on your Mac. And you'll find similar settings on an iPad and similar settings in Android and Windows